Welcome back to stage 2. Hope you had a good break, but it's now time to hit the second or the third part already of the second day of the Service Design Network conference. If you're in the chat, awesome that you're on stage 2. You made it, you found it. Leave a comment in the chat saying what's the time on your end. Right now it's 7:30 p.m. 7:30 p.m. 19 hours 30 in the Netherlands, where I am trying to type that in the chat, but it's messing with me. I'm really excited to do the next 3 talks. We're going to have some fun. The first talk presentation that we're going to start with is going to be a Service Design Award presentation again, the second one on the second channel. And I'm really excited because this is an award that is very dear to my heart because it's the best student project in the commercial sector. I think this is going to be a very interesting presentation. I want to welcome on stage Marie Salova, who's going to tell us all about this project. First of all, congratulations, Marie, and please share with us what has been going on with this project.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be here today.
So are we.
So I'll just share away.
Please do. Yeah, the stage is all yours.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Marie, and today I'm going to present an overview of my award-winning project, The Future of Dining Out. It was a project proposed by Fjord at the Dock in Dublin, and it was undertaken in collaboration with Lana Asian Street Food as part of my Master's in Service Design at the National College of Art and Design in Dublin, Ireland. So I'd like you to take a moment and have a think back. Think back to yourself to the first or the last time you ate out during the pandemic. And I want to ask you, did you feel safe? Did you sanitize your hands when you went in? And did you give your contact tracing information? How many people did you come into contact with? And how many things did you touch? I can tell you, you touched about 28 things if you don't count the things you own yourself. And this is how the virus spreads. So we can't see it, but it's there. With all these people and places and things that we come into contact with, quickly it became obvious why restaurants were closed down to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Was the table actually clean that you were sitting at? And how do you know? Was there anything on the table, such as cutlery, menu, salt, pepper, before you ever sat down? In Ireland, there shouldn't have been. It was against regulation. Did the waiting staff go from table to table, touching things or moving things without sanitizing their hands in between? Were staff wearing face shields but not face masks? What if just one person in that restaurant had COVID? It would be on everything in that restaurant within minutes, including the edge of your plate. So thinking back now, would you still feel safe? And I'm going to ask you to think back again, and I'm going to take this opportunity to present a little bit more about my work throughout the project, not just the outcomes. So thinking back before you could even eat out in 2020, this was me with my first Lana takeaway and what felt like forever during the lockdown, eating in my back garden. As when the project began, restaurants in Ireland were only allowed to serve takeaway, and Lana hadn't opened for sit-down service since their full closure until 4 weeks into this 12-week project. So thinking about that, consider how I felt starting my master's project. If I couldn't even touch anything, how could I design anything or solve anything? I was pretty worried about what I'm going to call doing traditional service design activities with a national lockdown in place. How was I going to interview people or observe or shadow people or prototype when I couldn't go 2 kilometers from my house or within 2 meters of other people, or not have 6 people in a room? Could I even service design now? And how was I going to adapt to these limitations while also considering the health and safety of all those people who were willing to help me? So time may have seemed frozen for many, but circumstances for me were changing week to week and day to day. So before I started the project, I really thought to myself, what could go wrong? And it is just a pandemic after all. So I'm excited to share my journey throughout this project with you today. I'll take you through 3 key stages of the project, starting with the context and identifying the opportunity, the proposed solution and its development in conjunction with Lana, and then its impact on the future of this project. So undoubtedly, the catalyst for this project was COVID-19. COVID-19 had pushed us towards a low-touch economy, doing what we used to do with less physical contact or a low-touch version of our day-to-day interactions in an effort to stop the spread of the virus. Our future experiences will be influenced by this crisis in more ways than we can ever comprehend, and this project focused on the future of dining out. So I asked myself, what does the future hold for restaurateurs, their restaurants, suppliers, staff, and customers, As some form of social distancing is likely to remain in place into the foreseeable future, will restaurants be able to create an enjoyable and safe dining experience, or will they bombard their guests with neon yellow signage, plexiglass screens, and temperature checks for the foreseeable future? And then the integral question of this project: how will restaurants adapt to survive and thrive through and beyond this crisis? So the project focuses on Lana, and I guess most of you wouldn't know who they are because they're only based on the island of Ireland, but they're an Asian street food micro chain. They now have 18 stores across Ireland, with one new store opening during the pandemic in 2020 and 2 more opening in 2021. They're owned by 2 ex-chefs from Thailand and are known for their authentic flavors, hip decor, and friendly staff. Initially, during lockdown, I looked at their dine-in customer experience pre-COVID, their takeout experience during COVID, and spoke to management about plans for reopening. I then combined this with relevant industry research, having spoken on Zoom and over the phone to many restaurant owners, managers, floor staff, bar staff, kitchen staff, critics, customers across the island. I mapped out the changes to the customer and staff experience due to COVID. And I also took a few trips to Lana to see for myself what was happening on the ground once restrictions ease off a bit. I identified the existing and predicted pain points and mapped them to their respective root causes using a Sankey diagram. From my research within Lana and across the industry, we all know that virus spreads through physical contact and touch. So there were concerns about COVID and regulatory compliance, and the small size of many Lana stores heightened these concerns across the country for our Lana managers. So I looked at where Lana was at this point in time, because with COVID, the future was so uncertain. Then I looked at where they could be in 3 weeks, 3 months, and 3 years. The objective of this project was to help our clients safely reopen their restaurants in the current climate by redesigning their dine-in experience across the chain while creating an enjoyable and safe dining experience for their customers. In order to call the project success, we also needed a financially viable business model, a strong dynamic staff experience to complement the new and improved customer experience. I looked at 3 weeks because you can't look too far into the future if there is no future. So at a minimum, Lana must comply with guidelines to ensure they keep their doors open. At the time, COVID compliance varied a lot from Lana to Lana. Changes took very long to implement, and problems were really hard to identify using the current approach. And with a second wave imminent, they need to be prepared to take action quickly. As a chain, they're only as strong as their weakest link. With regional lockdowns in place, Lana had to close 2 of its stores again during the project, which made this 3-week timeframe really relevant. We were dealing with COVID on a day-to-day basis and its unpredictability. So although COVID compliance sounds like a boring topic, it was fundamental to any restaurant future, not just my clients. I then looked at the 3-month because if all they do is comply with guidelines, they will lose their edge and nobody will be working or walking in the door no matter how open they are. So while keeping an authentic Lana experience at heart, I looked at the redesign of the on-site experience with COVID compliance in mind. Customer behaviors are currently really hard to predict, but there's an opportunity to shape them for the future. Lana is known for their experience, and with more people more selective than ever about where they eat out, but getting them to eat out and choosing Lana will be vital. The experience sets Lana apart and will be the key selling point. Then I looked into the 3-year space, as Lana must look into the future of their business and in the world they're going to be living in, figure out how to make their business thrive in the new normal as it's here to stay, and use that to shape their future. So for the purposes of the development of this project, I focused on the 3-month short-term future of Lana for development, while also keeping the 3-year long-term outlook in mind throughout. So I have developed low-touch Lana, and in summary, low-touch Lana is a new approach to dining out that utilizes these current consumer behaviors during COVID and capitalizes on them to create an intuitive, safe, on-site dining experience. Low-touch Lana cuts out much of the direct contact time with staff by replacing them with customers' own phone. It allows customers to order, request staff, pay, and access their Lana treat all from their smartphone. As COVID spreads through touch, the less we interact with things on each other, the lower our risk is. Therefore, low touch keeps both staff and customers safe while providing that enjoyable dining experience. Low touch Lana was built on 3 fundamentals based on a foundation of primary and secondary research data, the first being customer behavior and trends. As there is an immense focus on safety and transparency among customers, there's also a flight to digital and omni-channel, and people are ordering food online more than ever, so it's intuitive for them to order on their phone. Then we also looked at Lana's business integration and values. We wanted to reduce the pressure on the floor staff so they could adhere to the protocols correctly without incurring any additional labor costs. We also wanted an authentic solution that remains true to the Lana brand, but also helps build resilience. Then we wanted to improve table turnaround time as there's a reduced number of tables in each restaurant due to COVID social distancing. We also needed to think about COVID regulatory compliance. Low Touch Lana must comply with the current guidelines, but also being flexible as the guidelines are changing on a weekly basis. We wanted to develop the future of dining out in a post-pandemic society. We created low touch dining as a new approach. The focus was on how low touch could allow for high volume and a digital dining experience. The aim was to enhance and create a unique experience while tackling the spread of the virus at the same time. As the less we touch, the less we spread COVID. This was the perfect excuse to invest into the digital future of Lana. When the virus is finally gone, Lana will be in a great place digitally to keep up with and get in front of market trends. There was a lot of opportunities within this concept, and we updated their existing platform to allow for taking bookings, forming digital queue, viewing the menu, ordering, calling their staff, payments, to name just a few, which would cut out multiple physical touch points and points where the virus could spread. So after some brainstorming, sketching, and prototyping with Lana, we developed a solution that was ready to be prototyped on site with real customers. But we had to set a benchmark and a goal hypothesis for testing and to build a suitable experience prototype. So Lana wanted to focus really in on booking a table, choosing and ordering, and then paying by the platform. So we wanted to see if Low Touch Lana could create a safe and enjoyable dining experience, reduce the number of things the customer touches, reduce direct contact time with staff, potentially improve table turnaround time. And we decided to focus on this over spend per head, as Lana does not have many add-ons or upsells, so getting people in and out faster was a little bit more important. And we also wanted to ensure that they could comply with current guidelines in assisting the implementation on the ground. So I'm going to show you a short clip now, which showcases the low touch experience prototype. There's no audio, so I'm just going to talk you through what's happening. So what is low touch Lana? You arrive into Lana, you sanitize your hands as you would when you go into any restaurants. You still get greeted and seated. Then you take out your phone, you scan the QR, and you log on to their platform. So you go low touch. You pick out your food and you place your order. A staff member will serve you the food and you enjoy your meal. So when you're finished, you give all your contact tracing information and you pay contactlessly. And you can use your Lana treat. So you grab your stuff, you leave when you're ready, sanitize on the way out. And that's low touch Lana in its most simple form. So we conducted 3 experiments in Lana with different groups of diners, iterating the service between trials. I took my learnings from the first prototype and tweaked the touch points a little, but the core experience always remained the same. The initial prototype that we did aimed to validate our core hypothesis. Can we create that safe and enjoyable dining experience using a digital platform? Which we did, but it had many hiccups in terms of digital platform. So I updated the digital platform and streamlined the platform. For the 3rd iteration, we had 2 influencers come in and test it. The 3rd version was a huge success. Their low touch experience was documented on their and Lana's Instagram stories, which led to a few messages from customers from across the country inquiring when their local Lana would become low touch, which was really exciting to see. So in their eyes, the only downside to the last experiment was the fact that the solution wasn't already rolled out across the country. People were eager to go low touch. So I got quite a bit of customer feedback, and the kind of overall consensus was that low touch Lana makes the new normal actually feel normal, and Lana customers, it's fun, it's exciting. It was all positive. It's not all about COVID, it's more about the experience, which is what we were really going for. So we know customers are happy and eager to try low touch Lana, but I wanted to highlight the impact of the concept on Lana as a business and their staff. Overall, as well addressing many of the root causes and pain points identified during the research, we also needed to look at the impact and key areas of the customer experience, the staff, their business, and also society as a whole. So I looked at the economical, ecological, social, and psychological impacts. And the key impacts worth noting are that low touch Lana managed to reduce the direct contact time with staff by up to 85%. We reduced pressure on floor staff, requiring less staff per table, but also allowing them that time to adhere appropriately to all the new and confusing procedures and protocols in place due to the government. We also improved table turnaround time by 10%, which means we can have more tables in a day, make more money, helping build back some of that lost revenue due to the reduced table numbers for social distancing. We also reduced the number of things the customer touched, which again helps stop the spread of the virus and reduce the risk for customers, staff, management, and ownership. We are setting up Lana to operate and thrive in the low touch economy and build their own new normal. Having validated that low touch could replace the traditional business model in many scenarios, we mapped out the key stages of the customer journey and did some scenario planning around different customer types. We ran all these scenarios past Lana and implemented their suggestions before outlining the service solution as it would be if we were to implement the proposed solution. This was done in the form of a service blueprint and it allowed me to have quite granular details in while also having a high-level overview of the service at all times. And in terms of implementation, the solution is technically feasible and easily scalable to all 15 stores by Lana's digital partners at EasyGrub. But we are utilizing Lana's existing relationships and resources to build their own digital platform for the service, as we wanted an end-to-end solution that didn't cost Lana an external commission per order across all the stores when things were already tighter than usual. I then looked at how the solution is now as an MVP could be piloted at a larger scale while the EasyGrub team were developing and integrating it into Lana's existing platform, which currently only catered for takeaway and delivery. How it will be rolled out across the country, and then what needs to be done to ensure that the next Lana opens with low touch as a standard. So the future of Lana is low touch, and it may take some time to roll out. So we decided to create a little promo teaser to get customers across the country excited about the prospect of low touch dining at Lana. You'll notice that there's no reference to COVID or safety. The focus is on Lana, the experience, and the food. COVID is forcing us to change the way we live, but we can create the way we approach this new normal. Lana wants it to be positive and fun, not something that we have to do, but something that we want to do. So as I wrap up this presentation and the project, I wanted to reiterate that this project focuses on the future of dining out, not just the COVID future. We aim to retain the value of the experience Lana offers their customers while maintaining or even improving turnaround during, through and beyond the pandemic. Low touch dining is the future of dining out. COVID may have pushed us towards this, but this concept will outlive COVID and will become the new normal. And what I'm most excited about here is the possibilities that low touch dining opens up and creates for the future of dining out, not just for Lana, but for all restaurants across the world. So at the beginning of the presentation, I also shared my fears and perceptions around working throughout the pandemic as a master's student and all the challenges I predicted I'd be faced with. So I was in my garden eating Lana takeaway as all the restaurants in Ireland were still closed. And now this is me and Lana observing one of my service experiments in the city. As you can tell, so things turned out pretty amazing. Even with things moving and changing so fast, Lana is working behind the scenes on a new digital experience. I had to go out of my comfort zone to make this happen, and you adapt and make the best of the situation at hand. And I was able to still integrate many in-person activities that took a lot more planning than usual, but I felt they were invaluable to the development of this project and my design practice. But not every interaction needs to happen in person, and this actually gave me access to a much wider network of experts for the project. I guess many of you know from your own experience of working remotely over the last few months, you can indeed do service design during a pandemic. And what could go wrong? Everything and nothing. The unpredictability of the development crisis was hands down the biggest mental challenge throughout, but this has now become a strength of mine, getting comfortable with not knowing and controlling everything. And it is just a pandemic. So I'm proud to say I managed to finish my master's in the midst of the mayhem that we call our lives today, and I cannot wait to start my next stage of my life and career in these unpredictable and crazy times. I want to thank the Service Design Network for the opportunity to let me present my work here today. I'd also like to thank Cinnamon from Fjord Doc Dublin, Ryan and Kiva from the National College of Art and Design in Dublin, Shane and all the team at Lana for their insight and support throughout the project. I really appreciate the support in helping me both complete my master's degree in these crazy times, but most importantly, helping me develop as a designer. So thank you.
Big round of applause, Marie. Awesome project. Please stick around for the Q&A because there definitely were some questions. You were spot on time. So I have one short question right now from Alex. Did you get meals for free for the rest of your life?
Pretty much.
Awesome. Rightfully so. Thank you, Marie. We'll be back in a few minutes with the Q&A.